So huge thanks for joining myself, whether you're joining myself live or at a later time. Augusta Onyiuke-Eluma, partner at Foster de Novo, which is based in the heart of the city, London, yards away from the Bank of England, the Stock Exchange, all the traditional locations. But Foster de Novo is a fast-forward moving company. Now, Augusta, normally I say it's 5 minutes, but I've been persuaded to give you a bit more time on the 10th of October, the Wandsworth Property Network, sponsored by Crabberfuss, Ronald Fletcher Baker Solicitors, and Connection, which is a property management tool. So you're going to be presenting on the 10th of October about...
Well, what I'd like to spend some time doing is really addressing where we are in kind of the lending cycle. And obviously, at the moment, most advisors in my position would have seen a reduction in purchases, maybe not so much remortgages, but people are a bit more cautious about what they're buying, which is quite interesting given that it is a buyer's market at the moment. You know, the sellers aren't getting what they used to get for their properties, especially in London and the southeast. So there's a lot of changes. Obviously, we're 6 months away from reaching a Brexit deal, and I think that's creating some kind of uncertainty even in the quite resilient property development market. You know, developers will develop no matter the condition because people always need somewhere to live. But I have seen a slowdown over the last couple of months, and other advisors have said the same kind of thing. So what we're going to be talking about today is the appetite that lenders have. We're talking about on the 10th even.
Sure.
Is the appetite that the lenders have, and really what they're looking out for, what kind of deals that they will be attracted to right now. But really, you know, one of the things I want to focus on is best practice, because in my experience, I've seen a lot of things going wrong. We've got a lot of people entering into specialist products like bridging loans and commercial loans, not really understanding the mechanics. So
what do they not understand? The entrance exit fees, or
well,
is it a lot more complex than that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's entry fees, exit fees. That's clear as day, because a lot of the time that do an illustration, and you should receive the illustration before you go forward with the loan. But I think the biggest problem, and I think a lot of advisors are getting caught in this space where they're not educating their clients about how important it is to factor in time to get out of the loan. It's one thing to get into the loan to do the work, but you need to factor time to get out of that loan. And how are you going to get out of the loan? Are you going to get out through refinance? And if you are there credible lenders that can get you out that loan? And if there are credible lenders, how long will it take? Now, obviously, one thing you can do is sell, but if you're paying 1% per month, you know, you're going to be taking whatever price because you need to get out of that loan really quickly. So at the moment, I mean, Nicholas Marshall, who has mentioned this,
Wandsworth.
Exactly. He's mentioned this a couple of times and said, look, the trend and what is best practice and what is sensible at the moment is to purchase in this really good environment, is to add value, yeah, and then look to refinance. Even if your long-term plan is to sell, you don't want to be selling in this kind of market unless the perfect buyer comes along. And the perfect buyer is not going to come along if you're stressed about selling, if you're stressed about having to rush out of this deal. So we're going to focus on things like best practice so that you can continue to thrive as an investor or developer in this market without getting caught short.
What do you mean by best practice exactly? So being aware of the entrance exit, being aware of the time scale.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by...
But then also being able to add value. So if your long-term plan is to refinance, I mean, the interesting thing about selling, so for example, if you were to buy a £300,000 house, and then when the time that you did it up was going to be worth 330 or 340,000, and you're going to sell it, fine. You're likely to make, you know, 20, 30,000 pounds in there or whatever. If you're going to refinance, that property almost needs to be worth more, because you need to retain a certain amount of equity in that deal in order to achieve the refinance and pay back that loan. Yeah. So it's how can we look at a deal and lend against that deal, fully understand the numbers, so that even when you're planning your exit properly. You're planning your exit understanding that what you're not repaying the net loan, you're repaying that gross loan. You need to make sure that when you refinance, you still have enough equity in that deal so that you can repay the lender fully, and then that property can just stand. You understand? So it's just understanding, you know, the ins and outs of deals, which I think a lot of people are quite nervous about, you know, using specialist finance, because it all seems very complicated, but it's not if you have someone on your side who can educate you and got a really good team around you.
So that's on October the 10th. Look, I'm sure Augusta will want to continue for the whole 1 hour, 2 hours, but it's literally about a half an hour presentation. But, you know, possibly in 2019, you know, Augusta will be doing a longer, you know, half day or all day at some point.
I think, you know, a lot of the time, providing information like this is a bit like eating. You know, you don't eat one giant 1,000-calorie meal at the end of the day.
Well, you
have
can
small
do,
chunks.
but
You
it's
can
best
do,
not
you
to.
can do, but you know it's not advisable, and it's probably going to be quite uncomfortable sitting there with all that food in your stomach. And I feel like education in property finance is in a similar way, where small chunks are very good, you know. And I think it's really important to take a piece of information, internalize it, get it to work for you, and then learn a little bit more. And so, you know, I think 30 minutes is an adequate time to really cover what's going on here. And the market changes all the time, you know, things change all the time. There's always new conversations to have.
So I look forward to seeing you on the 10th. I look forward to seeing Augusta on the 10th as well. Thank you, and thank you.
Thank you.